Next is the Kentucky Medical Association, Dr. Monsloom Douche. Do I have that right? Douche? I'm sorry. Doctor, come forward. We all know Cory Meadows, our friend Cory Meadows. Come forward to the table. Welcome. Sorry you had to wait so long agenda, but to introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Well, good morning, and my name, as the chairman indicated, is Cory Meadows, and I am Director of Advocacy and Legal Affairs for the Kentucky Medical Association. And Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, as well as licensed and occupational staff, who've been fantastic to work with, we thank you on behalf of the Kentucky Medical Association for allowing us to address you regarding this very important issue. I intend to reserve a majority of my comments for the doctor. I'm a lawyer by trade. That's the last person you probably need to hear from on this issue, so we're going to reserve our comments largely for Dr. Monsloom. But before turning it over to him, I thought it would be of help to you and some value to you to understand what the current KMA policy is, the explicit policy. And if you'll oblige me, I'll run through that very quickly before I turn that over to the doctor. KMA supports further clinical research, as approved by the FDA, to determine whether cannabis can truly be effective in the treatment of medical conditions. Marijuana status as Schedule I controlled substance should be reviewed and possibly changed for the limited purpose of research and the development of cannabis-based medications. You heard from Dr. Barnes this morning. When you do this the right way, there can be very promising results for particular conditions, and that's the type of research that the KMA is advocating for in its statement. If scientific evidence confirms that cannabis-derived substances possess medical benefits, certainly alternate delivery methods should be explored in order to avoid the inherent dangers of smoke inhalation and the uncontrolled variables affecting potency and dosage. And until such goals are achieved, and until such time as marijuana is approved for use by the FDA, KMA cannot support legislation intended to involve physicians in the area of medicinal marijuana outside of scientific clinical trials. It is also the further policy of KMA because attitudes are changing, and the dialogue has certainly shifted in the last several years, to be an organization that facilitates evidence-based dialogues on the issues of cannabis in medicine by hosting forums, panel discussions, participating in conversations such as this, and other educational programs for physicians, policymakers such as you, and other interested stakeholders. This policy largely reflects the policies of other statewide medical organizations such as the Kentucky Academy for Family Physicians, who I think you've received a statement from. It also reflects the policies of the American Medical Association and other national medical groups. So with this policy in mind, and certainly with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'll stop here and allow Dr. Monsloom to formally introduce himself for the record and take the remainder of our time. But I will stick around for questions.
Welcome, Doctor. Introduce yourself and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Danish Monsloom. I'm a born and raised Kentuckian and the proud son of two immigrant physicians who were pioneers in pain management in the state. Following in their footsteps, I pursued training in medicine, anesthesiology, and eventually pain management. As many other states swing toward liberalizing marijuana use, I'd like to explain why I, as a scientist and a physician, advocate for restraint. As an anesthesia resident at Johns Hopkins, one day a mentor suggested using a medication derived from the coca leaf. At that point, I only knew of cocaine, a dangerous street drug that came from that product. So I looked it up the night before and was able to find well-established studies on dose, potential complications, and indications. That day I had a single refined molecule that had been heavily studied to use in the operating room. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for cocaine, but like cannabis, cocaine comes from the coca leaf.